Hey there, Alex here. When the Moto Z series was first released, I reviewed the sleeker and supposedly better Moto Z and skipped the Moto Z Play. The reason was pretty simple. In Singapore at least, it was rather expensive for a mid-range phone, so despite the good reviews that it received, it just wasn't worth buying. So I recently found a pretty cheap deal on a brand new Moto Z Play, and after using it for a while as my main phone, I finally get why people think it's good. It's a phone that does almost everything well enough. The design of the phone isn't fantastic, but it does feel quite solid, and you can always just slap a Moto style mod on the back. It's a pretty substantial phone with a big screen and big bezels. The screen itself is a decent looking Full HD AMOLED panel that provides nicely saturated colors and just enough brightness for outdoor use. I'm not a big fan of the positioning and size of the power button, but at least I can just rely on the fingerprint sensor to turn the screen on or off. And it's a pretty speedy fingerprint sensor. You'll notice there's no speaker cut out at the bottom, and that's because the call speaker is also the regular speaker. It's loud enough and front facing, so that's good enough for me too. There isn't any proper water resistance here, just a water repellent nano coating according to Lenovo, and frankly that's good enough for a phone at this price. Anyway, we do get a headphone jack unlike the regular Moto Z, which is kind of nice. Another thing I prefer on the Moto Z Play is the bigger battery capacity. Unlike the Moto Z, which could barely get me through a day of use, the Moto Z Play just keeps on going. Even with heavier use, I can get it to last over a full day of use. It also helps that the phone is using the tested and proven Snapdragon 625 chipset, which is well known for providing a nice balance between power and efficiency. So in my day-to-day use, it still provides a pretty smooth and speedy experience. Games may take a tiny bit longer to load, but they run well enough for the most part. Software experience is for the most part pretty good still. Motorola's default launcher here looks a little antiquated, so I ended up just using Nova Launcher. It also comes with additional features we've come to expect from Moto devices as well, and those still works really well. I just wished that they were more consistent and faster with software updates. One thing that bugged me a little is actually the camera software. Tap to focus seems kind of buggy, and sometimes it takes a while before it locks focus. Anyway, aside from the camera software, the camera itself is actually not that bad. The Auto HDR mode works well enough most of the time, the colors looks decent, and the image processing isn't over the top. Even in low light, I think it performs pretty well for a mid-range device. Sometimes I do get a bit of camera shake, probably because of the lack of hardware stabilization, but most of the time it's fine. Even for video recording, it does have some sort of electronic stabilization that works quite well, and it even records in 4K, which is a nice bonus. The front camera is just about average, and even though it has a flash, it's something I'll avoid using unless you really need a photo in the dark for some reason. Overall, the camera experience is pretty much as expected from a mid-range phone. At this point, it's probably time to talk about Moto Mods. While I do like the ability to instantly turn the phone into a mini boombox or whatever, I still maintain that it's sort of a gimmicky feature. You have to keep in mind that the Moto Mods are accessories that only works with the Moto Z series, and they're not exactly cheap. So it makes more sense to just get standalone accessories that works with more devices. Unless you can get the Moto Mods at a really cheap price, they're just not that worth it. So to sum it all up, the Moto Z Play is a well-rounded mid-range phone that is pretty decent at almost everything. Clean software experience, good performance, decent camera, and amazing battery life. Best of all, it's no longer as expensive as it was, which makes it a great budget device now. Even when compared to newer budget phones like the Moto G5 Plus, the Moto Z Play still has its advantages. So if you come across a really good deal for a Moto Z Play like I did, it's definitely still worth considering. Thanks for watching my review of the Moto Z Play, and if you've enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks, and see you guys on the next one.